Chris Mannix from Sports Illustrated, he covers the NBA for the magazine, and I was looking at what would be a mock draft of sorts and where these guys are rising and falling with their tournament play. And the hard part of all of this is you're trying to project how good these kids are going to be. Ben McLemore, by all accounts, I thought that kid's a star in the making. And then comes out and lays an egg last game. When they win, he scores 2 points. Nerlens Noel may elevate his stock, and he's been out and, had to have knee surgery. You got Zeller still in there, Oladipo. Who else is there's one other kid in there, McLemore. So those are the 3 of the top 10 right now. But I don't know if anybody's really improved their stock.
I don't think that anyone has skyrocketed as a result of this tournament. Certainly not out of the top 10. The top 10's been pretty...
Chris, I didn't introduce you.
Oh.
I had to give you a formal introduction.
I thought you did. I don't know. I thought I heard you.
All right, we'll try it again.
All right.
Yeah, so you got these 3 top 10 there, and let's bring in Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated. What do you think of the top 10?
Well, now that I've been properly introduced, I don't think that there's been too much movement in that top 10 at the moment. The top 10's been pretty fluid for most of the year, but over the last couple of months, the top 10 is where it's at now. These guys have pretty much well locked in. I mean, I will say this. You're right about Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel, he didn't really drop much as a result of the knee injury. And with the struggles of a guy like McLemore, that just makes Noel all that much more appealing if you're talking about taking someone with the top pick. And I still believe that Noel, regardless of the fact that he's probably going to miss at least the first month of the season, or at least the first 6 months of the season, actually, with that knee injury, he's still going to be a top 2 or 3 pick. Now, Dan, where guys are moving and where guys could have improved themselves are in the back end of this draft into the first round. And there were some guys that had really, who needed big games that had bad ones. I'm looking at Mike Muscala from Bucknell. He had a terrible game against Butler. Nate Walters, he had a huge opportunity with dozens of NBA scouts in attendance going up against Michigan, and he laid an egg going 3 for 14. Even a guy like Otto Porter, who is going to be in the top 10 more than likely, he's a guy that probably could have used a couple more games to solidify his spot in the top 5, and he played horribly in that first-round loss to Florida Gulf Coast. So there were some guys out there that did not help their stock at all in these first couple of games of the tournament.
But if you're looking at these guys, are you going to see any of these top 10 guys who say, my stock didn't improve or I may come back for another year, or are they all gone, the top 10?
I doubt it. This is a really weak draft and a really weak year for prospects. Not a lot of European prospects either, so you're not going to have that surge of players over there coming in to take some of those lottery spots. If guys think they're going to be in the lottery, I believe 99% of them are going to go. Now, I will say this, the Kentucky kids, they're now saying they're going to stay, and ordinarily I would say, okay, give them a month and let's see what comes of it. But these guys, especially Archie Goodwin and Alex Poitras, the 2 freshmen there, their stock has plummeted over the course of the season. Archie Goodwin fell out of my top 20 altogether, and Alex Poitras is a guy that is probably in the 15 to 20 range if the draft were held today. Those are a couple of kids that I think could wind up staying just because they proved all season long that they weren't ready. But I'll give you one name, Dan, of a guy that's really improving his stock and is still in the tournament. You mentioned Ben McLemore and how he struggled. Well, that's opened the door for Jeff Withey with Kansas to step up and really play. Now, Withey's got 33 points in these first 2 games of the tournament. He's a guy that when I talk to GMs about him, they say, all right, this guy can play defense on an NBA level, but we don't think he can score. He has 1 or 2 games like this, Dan, and he's going to start turning some heads and changing some minds about whether he can score at the next level.
Yeah, it's just trying to troubleshoot this, because if you end up with the number 1 pick, it used to be when you won the lottery, you were going to get somebody in who was going to help you right away. I don't know if you're getting anybody that you can look at as a complement to one of your star players or could be your star player eventually.
No, I would agree with that. A lot of the guys we're talking about in the top 5, 6 picks are freshmen, sophomores. I think McLemore is going to be ready quicker than we think just because he has that NBA body, and he's got such a flawless-looking shooting stroke that when NBA shooting coaches get their hand on him, they're going to be able to perfect that very quickly, and he's going to become ultra dangerous from the outside right away. In addition to the fact that he's compared often to Ray Allen, but he's more athletic and more aggressive going to the basket than Ray Allen ever was at UConn. So he's a guy that's going to be able to play quickly. But you're 100% right. You look at this top 3, freshmen, sophomores, all the way around. Each one of these guys, I don't want to call them projects, but they're probably going to take at least a year or 2 to reach their potential.
Before I let you go, the Heat streak, it continues. Now they got Orlando coming up. Where are we with this streak, and when does it come to an end?
Well, Well, it's hard to say. I mean, I was the one that said that I thought one of these 4 games they've been playing against bad teams would have ended it. They almost had it against Cleveland. They fell behind against Detroit. They even fell behind early in the first quarter against Charlotte before they just flipped that switch and turned it on. We keep looking at that Chicago game in the middle of the week, and a lot of people are eyeballing that San Antonio game, Dan, as a game to watch. I'm just curious, what makes anyone believe that Greg Popovich is going to play his players in that game? I mean, look, he has had the opportunity to not play anyone in that first game. Now he has a second game against Miami. That doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot to him. And if he's looked forward to a potential finals matchup, there's an advantage to not playing all your guys. There's an advantage to having Miami not being able to see your team at full strength. Throw in the fact that the next night San Antonio plays Memphis on the road, a game that's clearly much more important to Greg Popovich than this game against Miami. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Popovich sits 2 or more of his players in that game. And wouldn't that be another stick to David Stern?
He needs no formal introduction. He's Chris Mannix from Sports Illustrated.
Dan, can I say one thing about this whole Perloff wearing shorts thing?
Yeah.
On behalf of all the people at Sports Illustrated, please make him wear tights underneath that. We already decided there are people in the office that watch the show in the morning while eating breakfast. They don't need to see that in the morning.
Thank you, Chris.
You got it.
Thank you. I've taken that under advisement. We're getting McLovin's Dartmouth uniform. You can imagine the short shorts. We could have a wardrobe malfunction